we're ready to start coloring our cacti. Now, we are not going to just use any colors today to color our cacti in our pot. We're going to be focusing on cool colors only. Now, as you probably remember from earlier art lessons, cool colors are colors that are only on one half of the color wheel: green, blue, and violet. Now, there's also kind of some in-between shades of these colors, such as blue-green, blue-violet, and those types of colors are okay to use as well. So I'm going to have you be the judge today of what you believe is a cool color. If you have a color that you are sure isn't cool, like orange, don't use that color today. Only use colors that you believe fall into that cool color scheme. So we're going to be using some crayons today. And I'm going to go ahead and choose a few colors that I think are cool colors for sure. So I've got a violet, I've got a light blue, I've got a darker blue, maybe a few different choices of greens. Can't do red, that one's definitely not cool. If I'm not sure about it, then I'm not going to use it. Okay, this is probably a good start for me. Now, when I start coloring, I'm going to use the crayon coloring tricks that I've been using for many, many years. You guys probably remember that I look for three things when you color with crayons. I look for value, blending, and neatness. And we're going to talk about each of those things today. Let's start with neatness. So I'm going to start off with some blue. And I'm going to color this little area of my pot right here. So when I color neatly, that means that I'm staying inside the lines. And I'm trying not to scribble. Scribbling means that you go in all different directions. But if you kind of keep your crayon moving in the same direction the whole time, it gives it a smoother look. I'm also trying not to leave any white spaces in my coloring. I'm just going for a smooth area of blue. Now that the blue area is all colored in neatly, I can move on to a slightly trickier coloring technique, and that is value. Now, value, you probably remember, even from some practice coloring, is the difference between darks and lights in an art project. So we can use value to color very dark and create a dark value, and we can start pressing more lightly with our crayon to get a lighter value. So the way that I could use that in an artwork would be like on these hills. I might start out coloring dark at the bottom by pressing hard. And then as I get closer to the top of the hill, I'm gradually starting to lighten the pressure of my crayon so that it gets really light. I'm coloring very lightly up here, barely pressing, and darker down here. Now, not only is this more interesting for our eye to look at when we use value changes, but it also is going to make this hill area look more three-dimensional. It's going to look like a real curved hill that maybe has some sunlight shining on top of it and creating the bottom part in shadow. The last thing that we're going to practice is blending. Now, you might remember that blending is where you use two colors blended together in the same area to create kind of a new color. So I'm going to do that on this little path roadway. And instead of using cool colors, I'm going to use some neutral colors today. Neutral colors are okay to include. So if you want to use some browns or some blacks or grays, that's okay, as long as you're not using any warm colors. So to start with my blending, that means that I'm just going to color neatly with one color. And then I'm going to blend another color into it to get the color that I want. Maybe I feel like this is a little bit too bright, so I could blend this darker brown into it to change part of that color. This is a really great way to customize the colors of your art project so that it looks exactly the way that you feel it needs to look. Now, whenever you are doing these 3 techniques, you don't have to blend everywhere. You don't have to do value everywhere. But I want everyone to try it in at least a few places. And the more places that you try it, the higher it's going to raise your grade. Your coloring is done when all the white places on your cactus and on your pot are filled in. Now, I really tried to include as much blending and value as I could on my cactus to really help with my effort grade and my use of art materials grade. Now, I also had to do a little bit of problem solving with my blending and my value. I chose a color that I thought looked like a violet for my flowers, but whenever I used it, it actually looked a lot more pink. So to problem solve that, I'm just going to blend in another violet color just to make sure that all of my cactus looks like it has cool colors. Cool colors and neutral, but no warm. And I'm just going to keep on going until I think that I have all of my blending and my coloring done neatly.